So welcome to 2023. I hope this year has gotten off to a great start for you, and I'm looking forward to the year ahead. So one thing I did before filming today's video is I went back and I looked at 2022, and I looked at all of the adventures where I brought along my GoPro. And what I specifically looked at is I looked at what accessories did I bring along with my GoPro. And specifically, I dug a little deeper and I asked, what are those must-have accessories that I brought along with me every time I grabbed my GoPro? What are those items that I tossed into a bag and absolutely had to have, did not want to leave the home without? So after going back and looking at that, I compiled the list of 11 accessories that I consider must-haves that I bring along each and every time I go on an adventure with my GoPro. And in this video today, I'm going to share those 11 accessories that I consider must-haves, and I'm going to tell you how I use each of them so that you can decide if those are accessories that are must-haves for you as well. Now, the good news about a lot of these accessories is they are compatible with most GoPro models. However, for those accessories that are specific to certain GoPro models, I will mention that so that you are aware. In addition, I will link to each and every one of these accessories in the description below, so that it's easy for you to check those out and decide if you would like to purchase any. The first accessory is rather small, and it may not look like much, but this one is a GoPro mount that is made of metal. It looks a lot like the plastic ones, and you can't tell the difference until you hold it in your hand. It is much heavier than the plastic ones, and it holds up a lot better as a result. Now, this particular mount from Smarttree cost approximately $10, and it's well worth it. I've had this particular mount for several years now, and it's still going strong. In fact, it really doesn't show any signs of wear and tear on the bottom, which is great. This mount I use anytime I'm attaching my GoPro to a tripod. So when I'm attaching it like for a time lapse or a night lapse, I use this mount to connect it to the tripod mounting plate. And I also use this mount anytime I'm attaching my GoPro to any type of handheld grip or anything where it requires the same type of mount as a tripod. So basically, whenever I'm taking out my GoPro, I don't leave home without this. The second accessory that I find myself not leaving home without is this USB pass-through door. Now, this particular pass-through door is compatible with the Hero 11, 10, and 9. This particular one GoPro makes, and I love it. It's a great accessory to have. Now, I do want to note that you don't want to have this attached to your GoPro if you're going to use your GoPro underwater, because this is a pass-through door, and therefore there's a hole right here. And if you have that on your GoPro, water is going to get in there, and it's going to get into the slot where your battery and micro SD card are located, and that's not going to end well. So you do want to make sure you only use this pass-through door when you're not going to be putting your GoPro underwater. Now, that being said, the purpose of the pass-through door is, as you might have guessed, for a USB-C cable to be able to pass through and to plug into your GoPro. So the way in which I use this pass-through door most of the time is I use it to use an external battery pack to power my GoPro. And that's commonly going to be when I'm doing a time lapse or a night lapse, or if I want to plug this in on the go to have it powered and charging. The pass-through door is super simple for that because you don't have to keep the door open when you have the GoPro plugged in, or if you want to charge it, you can have the door closed and you can be charging it without worrying about the battery or your micro SD card falling out. And also, if I'm doing a time lapse or a night lapse when it's raining or snowing, I don't have to worry about rain or snow getting into here, and I can still power it. Because with the USB cable plugged in, it does block rain or snow from getting in. It's not waterproof with the cable plugged in there, but it is weather resistant. The third accessory I find myself bringing along every time I take my GoPro out is this Anker external power bank. Now, I actually own two of these, and as you can see, one of these is quite a bit smaller than the other. Now, the bigger one does hold more charge, so this can certainly do a lot more charging than this one can. But there are situations where it's sometimes nice to have this really small one, and then there's situations where I want more power, and I have this one. So this bigger one I tend to use if I'm doing like an all-day time lapse or an all-night night lapse, because I know that this one, even with half a charge, is going to keep my camera powered all night, and it's not going to run out of battery in the middle of a night lapse. Even when it's really cold out, I've had this outside on like 0 degree Fahrenheit nights, and it still has plenty of power the next day. So these ones are surprisingly resistant to cold, because if you've used batteries in cold, then you know the batteries tend to run down pretty quickly. Which, by the way, used to happen with GoPro batteries too, until GoPro released their Enduro battery, which now comes standard with the Hero 11. These power banks, I love them, because not only can I use them to power my GoPro on the go, but let's say I'm on an adventure and I'm gonna be taking a break for a couple hours. I can easily plug the GoPro in and I can have the battery charging on here while I'm taking a rest. So that's super useful, like if I'm on a backpacking trip and I wanna take a break for a meal for a while, plug it in, and I don't even have to turn on these external battery packs, which is a feature that's worth mentioning about these Anker power banks. A lot of power banks, they will turn off if they're not charging or powering something after about 30 seconds or a minute. These ones do not. So I can have my GoPro set up doing a night lapse with the battery inside it and the battery at 100% charge. And this is still going to stay on. So it's going to maintain that battery at 100 all night, and then it's going to also make sure the GoPro stays powered on. You can also use these without a battery present in the GoPro, and these particular ones will power the GoPro. They do provide sufficient power that you don't have to have the battery present. Even if you're doing 5.3K 60, these will get the job done. So my fourth must-have accessory for GoPros is this battery charging case right here from GZ Cine. So this case is great, and in particular, I like this newer version. It's very small, it fits in the palm of my hand, and it can charge 2 GoPro batteries at a time. So this is compatible with GoPro batteries going all the way back to the Hero 5. If you have an older GoPro battery, these 2 plastic pieces in here are what you'll want to put your GoPro battery in to charge it. But if you have a newer battery, it pops right in. You don't need to have one of those adapters. Just pop it in right there. Close the lid, and it starts charging. It's got nice status lights on there that show you how much battery is left for the internal battery in this case. And then it also shows you when the GoPro battery is done charging. So right now it shows red because the battery needs to be charged up. But when it's done charging, it's going to show green here. And then you know the battery's done. So what I love about these, when I'm going out on an adventure, I like to have 2 batteries in here that are already charged, and then 1 battery in my camera that's fully charged. And then what I'll do when the battery in my camera runs down, I'll pop it out, pop it into here, I'll pop out one of the charged batteries, and I'll put it into my camera. And then I just continue to circulate through them. Usually by the time the battery on my camera is spent, the one in here is 100% charged or close to charged. So I really love that about this. And this charging case also has 2 slots here on the top where you can put micro SD cards, which I'll talk about that later, but it's always a good idea to have at least 1 extra micro SD card with you when you're out on an adventure. The next accessory that I always bring with me on my GoPro adventures is the GoPro Volta. Now, the thing I like about the GoPro Volta is, first of all, it's really small, it doesn't take up a lot of space, and I also like it that the internal battery in the Volta is equivalent to approximately 4 of these GoPro batteries. So yes, I have the charging case, I have extra batteries, and I have the Volta. If I'm on a multi-day adventure where I don't have access to power to plug in anything electrically, it is a good idea to have plenty of batteries and plenty of internal batteries and plenty of power banks, basically so I don't run out of power if I decide to use my GoPro a lot during the day or for time lapses or night lapses at night. So then my GoPro is powered like this at all times when I'm using it, and this also doubles as a remote, so I don't need to have the GoPro remote. I can push these buttons right here to power on the GoPro, to do any type of filming. They're all right there. I don't have to touch the camera and create shake here. I can touch it here, much better. And also, of course, the Volta can be charged as well. There's a USB-C port right here. So technically, I can charge or power the Volta with my power bank if I want to keep the Volta charged and the GoPro fully charged at the same time. So there are a lot of possibilities with these accessories to ensure that I don't run out of power, even if I'm on a couple-day adventure. And of course, the Volta also has legs that fold out. So if I want to, I can use this as a tripod, and you can rotate the GoPro on top like I just did there. And so I can have this set up doing a night lapse if I want to. Now do note the Volta is not waterproof, so you do not want to put this under water. And if it's going to rain hard at night or snow a lot and this is going to get buried in snow, I don't recommend doing that. You also have the tripod if you want to do a static shot. You can change the angle of your GoPro. So you could set this on the ground and have it filming you as you walk along. Let's say you're out on a solo adventure and you want to get some static shots of yourself. This is perfect. So the next accessory that I like to bring along on each and every GoPro adventure is the GoPro Media Mod. Now the Media Mod is compatible with the Hero 9, 10, and 11. So this is compatible with the newer GoPros. And what I like about this is it's easy to pop the GoPro into here. And of course, when you pop it in, you need to make sure you take off the door. It's easy to slide on in here. And then with this on, you can still mount it on the Volta if you want to. I use the built-in mic on the Media Mod because it gets a lot better audio than the built-in mic on the GoPro. But I also use it oftentimes to connect an external mic to it. So the external mic is going to get even better audio than that of the mic on the Media Mod. And you can connect the external mic either via USB-C port right here on the back or via a 3.5 millimeter jack. I've used both, they both work great. And one of my accessories I'm about to talk about, I often use with the external mic on here, just because of how great it works and how great the audio is from that external mic. Now, I haven't found myself ever using the light on the Media Mod, but GoPro does sell a light that you can mount on top of here as well. And that can be pretty cool if you're filming in like low light or darkness, and you want to have that nice illumination of your face or other subject while filming. So accessory number 7 is the DJI wireless mic kit. So if you haven't heard of the DJI wireless mic before, basically this is a charging case that has 2 microphones within it as well as a receiver. And what I like about the DJI wireless mic is, first of all, it does have 2 receivers. So if you want to be talking and having audio in your video, but you also want a second person to be talking, you can each wear a mic. You can have both audio streams feed into the same footage. So that's a really nice feature. In addition, what I like about each receiver is each receiver has a record button on it, and it has approximately 14 gigabytes of internal storage. So what you can do is you can have this little receiver recording, and you don't even have to attach it to the Media Mod if you don't want to. And what you can do is when you're done with your adventure, you can take the audio file from here, you can put it on your computer, and you can sync it with the audio from the actual GoPro. And then after you sync it, you can delete the audio from the GoPro and you can combine the audio from this with your video footage. This will give you a lot better sound that way than the audio from the GoPro. The audio on the newer GoPros is a lot better than it used to be, but it's still not going to be any comparison to what you can get from a high quality external mic such as this one. It also comes with a nice magnetic clip. And of course, the case here is a charging case, so you can pop your mics right back in. You can charge them, and it's got the USB-C port on the back, which, as you guessed, you can take one of your power banks, you can plug them in, and you can use those to charge the charging case. So I definitely recommend the DJI wireless mic if you want good high-quality audio on the go without your mics taking up a lot of space. So this next accessory is a fairly new one. It's one that GoPro released just this year, and this one is Gumby. So if you haven't seen Gumby before, it kind of looks like something you would see in a Star Wars movie or some type of insect sculpture. So basically what Gumby is you've got a mount here where you can mount your GoPro, and then you have these flexible foldable legs. So basically Gumby gives you a lot of flexibility to mount your GoPro anywhere you are. So you could hook these around like a fence post. You can hook them around a tree. You could hook them onto a car mirror. Be careful on a car though, make sure they're very secure or this could fall off. I do recommend the suction cup mount for cars, by the way, which I own, but that is not on this list because I don't find myself recording on a car often. But just a side note there, the suction cup mount is great if you want to record a lot on cars. But yeah, what I like about Gumby here is you can bend these legs in all different directions. And then when you have it secured around something, you can twist these legs multiple times and it's not going to go anywhere. If you do a sort of braided tie like that, it's going to stay in place. It's not going to fall down. It's not going to move around on you, it's gonna stay secure. So Gumby's a great little accessory. I find myself using this a lot when I'm on an adventure, like in the woods. I can attach it to a tree, like if I wanna look up at the camera to talk to it, if I want it at eye level. Because when you have a tripod like this, it is very useful, but it's not always useful for setting it at eye level or above you. Usually you're gonna have to set it on the ground unless you've got like a stone wall or a huge boulder or a fallen log that's at the right level. So Gumby kind of fills that gap and makes it really easy to attach your GoPro wherever you are. So the next accessory that I find myself always making sure to bring along is a little micro SD card case. So the charging case that I showed you does have room for 2 micro SD cards in it, which is great. But sometimes I have even more than 2 micro SD cards along with me, believe it or not. So I have this little micro SD case right here, which holds up to 4 SD cards and 4 micro SD cards. So what I have in here right now is I have several SD cards, and then there's also a micro SD card slot above each of these 4 slots. So if you've used a GoPro for any amount of time, you do know that micro SD cards can A, get filled quickly, B, they can get corrupt, C, they are really tiny and they're easy to lose, and they're not easy to find, especially on a forest floor or in leaves or in a body of water. In fact, if this falls into water, it's probably done. But dig it out anyway and let it dry out. And if you're really lucky, your files may still be on here. But I recommend always having an extra micro SD card because you never know what could happen to the one that you're using in your camera. And when your micro SD card gets full on your GoPro, you're gonna wanna take it out and put it somewhere secure. If you take it out and just throw it in your backpack, you might lose it or it might get damaged. And that would be super frustrating to damage your micro SD card that has all of your incredible footage from your adventure on it. I've had that happen before, and it's very painful and sad to lose all of that footage. So I definitely recommend having a little case like this if you're going to have more than a couple micro SD cards with you, and if you're not gonna have the battery charging case. If you have the battery charging case and you have 1 micro SD in your GoPro and 2 in here, it's probably gonna be enough for you. But if you don't, these little cases right here are cheap. This particular one does not cost much at all, and it's great to have along. And also if you have a bigger camera along too, like the one I'm talking to, and you have SD cards for that, it's great for storing those at the same time. All right, accessory number 10 that I bring along on each and every adventure are these ND filters from Freewell. These particular filters are compatible with the Hero 9, 10, and 11, but Freewell does make ND filters for a lot of the older GoPro models as well, which I will link to those too, in case you own a Hero 8 or older. If you don't know much about ND filters basically give you the ability to film super cinematic footage on your GoPro. And what I mean by super cinematic is these allow you to get that cinematic motion blur, where you set your shutter speed to twice your frame rate. Now I have a whole entire video that I filmed explaining the entire process of how to set up your camera and how to use it with the ND filters. So I'm linking to that above in case you want to check it out and learn more about that. But I also like to bring along this long exposure ND1000 filter. And basically what this filter allows you to do is it allows you to take long exposure photography. So if I'm going to be at the ocean, or if I'm going to be at a lake or a river, a stream, a waterfall, any place like that, I love to have this because I love getting that long exposure photography where that water has that smooth look to it and everything else kind of pops from that. Looks super cool. And the GoPro does a shockingly good job with long exposure photography. I also have a video dedicated to that shows you how to get incredible long exposure photos from your GoPro. I've linked to that above as well if you want to check it out. But I love having these along, especially when I'm in really scenic places. I love to pop these on and set up my GoPro to get that cinematic motion blur. It's really one of the ways to get the most out of your GoPro. And if you're a beginner with GoPro, as you learn more, I recommend picking up a set of these because you're going to be really pleased with the results you can get with these. And finally, accessory number 11 that I find myself bringing along on each adventure is this floaty case right here. This floaty case is pretty simple. It's made of a foam type material. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to put your GoPro inside it. And you might ask, why would I want to put my GoPro inside a floaty case? Well, if you're going to be around a body of water, it's a good idea to have it in here. This doesn't make your GoPro waterproof, but if you drop your GoPro in the water, instead of it sinking like a rock to the very bottom and burying itself in mud, sand, or a hard to find place, your GoPro will hit the water, it'll go under a little bit, and then it'll float right back to the top. It's gonna float along the water and it's gonna stay there. And this is also a bright orange, which makes it easy to find. Because a GoPro being the color black is not helpful when it falls into water, unless it's that really bright Caribbean type water, where it's that bright blue, then it's not so bad finding a GoPro. But if you drop this in a lake or a pond or most rivers, you're gonna have a hard time finding your GoPro, and you don't wanna lose your GoPro because it's frustrating to drop a waterproof camera into water and it doesn't destroy your camera, but you can't find your camera. That's super frustrating. So I highly recommend picking up one of these. This particular one from HSU, I purchased as part of a 72-in-1 kit, which has a ton of GoPro accessories in it, and they're very well priced. So if you're a beginner starting off and you want to get the mother load of GoPro accessories, I've linked to that kit below, in addition to this separately, but check out that entire kit if you want to. HSU often does promotions on that kit, and you can usually pick it up for $1 or less per accessory, which is an incredible deal. It's a great way to start off, and I find myself using a lot of those little random mounts that come with that kit often. All right, well, there you have it. There are the 11 accessories that I find myself bringing along on every GoPro adventure. These are the GoPro accessories that I consider my must-have accessories. There are a lot of other accessories I've used and tried out, and some of them sit on the shelf. I may have used them once or twice, but I really don't use them a lot. But these ones right here are my core accessories. I use them all the time, and I love having them because they help me get the very best out of my GoPro cameras. So until we talk again, happy GoProing.